Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you guys for joining me again. My name is Wilkie and I'm here with actually the fourth video in this guide series because I think it's better to separate the upgrading paths into another one. So in the prior videos I basically told you how to get from 1 to 50 and how to transition into the first tier of gear, and also explain how upgrading works and a bunch of these things. So currently we are at item level 415. Everything that I received is either through chests or basically the upgrading path that I showed in the prior videos. And before we actually go into transitioning to the next higher gear, I just want to show you that I currently am able to do the 415 or the item level 415 chaos dungeons, the Rohendel ones. And those give me the last tier 1 gear that I talked about, the one that starts at 385. If you remember, I told you that there's gear that starts at 302. The ones that I currently wear are 340, and the ones that I'm going to be transitioning now to are going to be 385. I'm just going to do this very quickly here and catch you guys after I've done the chaos dungeons to clear up things a little bit more. So here we are after my chaos dungeons, and exactly in the same fashion as we did transition from 302 to 340 gear, we're now gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna click on recycle, and we're going to transfer from legendary to artifact gear, or from yellow to red, or whatever you want to use. And the same rule applies here. You just transfer 6 levels over, or you're going to be losing 9 levels from your current equipment. And the item level at the end is going to be the same. So we're not going to move from gear score 414. 414 is also going to be the gear score that we're afterwards, but we then will be able to upgrade the gear to plus 15 again. All of this is, like I said, exactly the same that I showed in the other guide. So I'm just gonna skip to the end here. Nearing the final piece to plus 15, we actually hit item level 550. As opposed to the other stages, we don't actually receive any form of chest or anything, so there's no mail or anything coming, as you can see here. But we now have to move to Yorn, and I'll catch you guys once we're over there. So we are here finally going over to the new parts, or the actual guide content of this video, and exactly like in the prior videos, we got boxes that give me sapphire shards since we're moving to tier 2 equipment. So we're no longer going to be using these ones here. Where are we currency? The emerald shards, but the sapphire shards. So we got a bunch of those. Then also your typical accessory chest, exactly in the same fashion as the old one. Just rinse, repeat, replace it with yours. Grab those. And we're also going to get a chest with oils, and these lesser heavenly sapphires are exactly the same way as the green ones. Once you get the respective gear, you will be able to upgrade it faster with those. So the last step for me to do is actually do Yorn chaos dungeons, and since we are item level 550, we can do the first ones, and these drop item level 802 equipment. And if you're smart enough, or if you play the game long enough, you can actually see that for tier 1 we started at 302, went to 340 and 385 gear, and now we're in tier 2 and we're again starting at 802. And we're just going to give you a sneak peek how it works. The next step is going to be 840, and the last step is, you've guessed it, is going to be 885. This is why I said repeatedly that understanding this mechanic once for tier 1 gear pretty much explains it, how it works for the entire game, at least so far. Obviously things may change in later game stages, but between tier 1 and tier 2, this is how the progress works. Anywho, we're gonna do chaos dungeons in Yorn, and I'll catch you guys after I've done my chaos dungeons and hopefully have a full set of gear. Just like in the prior videos, we've done our chaos dungeons, and I'm just checking my gear, and voila, we have everything we need. So I'll catch you guys after I've selected a few pieces, and we're meeting up at the upgrade NPC where all the magic is going to be happening. So here we are at our trusty equipment NPC. Currently we are in Yorn, which is also where you pretty much transition to tier 2 equipment. In case you're wondering, what we're going to be doing now is something that is Well, rather not very common, since you pretty much only do this with jumping between each tiers, and we're gonna be doing so. After I've done the Chaos Dungeons, I selected the 6 pieces that we're moving to, so we're gonna be moving from tier 1 highest type of equipment, the one that starts at 385, the best one in tier 1 if you will, to the weakest one in tier 2. And like I said, this is how the transition works. So once Papanika with tier 3 equipment comes out, the same thing is going to be happening again. Needless to say, there are 2 things to keep in mind, or rather you basically have 2 options now. First of all, I could choose to upgrade my gear the normal way, just like we did it when we first got our hands on level 302 equipment. Remember, back then we just didn't have anything, so there wasn't anything to transition from. Basically, we just got ourselves on these Chaos Dungeons, then we got the gear, and then we started upgrading it all the way to plus 15. The same thing applies here, and you also get these oils or these potions that basically makes this upgrading process a whole lot easier. But there's one other thing that I want to mention, and that is recycling between tier 1 to tier 2. Because that is also an option, and that may be a viable thing to do once Papanika comes, or basically this is something to keep in mind. If you don't have any catch-up mechanics involved, this is actually something to remember. So I can actually recycle my old tier 1 equipment and transfer some of the enhancements over to my tier 2 equipment. As you can see, this one's currently at plus 15 or level 15. And if I recycle it, it's gonna be level 3. So I'm losing 12 levels, as opposed to the old system where we're losing 15 levels. So now it's only 12 levels. I don't know if it's gonna be the same with Papanika, but at least I hope so. So basically, it's gonna be minus 12 in equipment. And that actually enables me to skip the normal upgrading of my gear to level 3, since all the pieces are gonna level 3. So essentially, I can buy myself one step less of upgrading, which means a few materials less spent, but it's not really significant. But just for the sake of completion, we're going to do this. Exactly the same thing, no reagents required. It's just going to cost you a few shillings, which at this point shouldn't really bother you as much. And I think weapon is generally the most expensive one. Yes, it is. So we're going to do this, and it'll tell you again, the old one's going to be destroyed, and we don't need the old one, as fancy as it may look or something. We don't need it anymore because this one's gonna be just vastly more powerful. Just look at the weapon attack, for example. Obviously, the additional damage is gonna be much lower because it's a weaker rarity of items. The blue one's only rare, and the other one, the artifact, is the last gear, so the additional effect are better. But the weapon attack is gonna be so much more. So right now our attack power is 3,322. Let's just recycle this one here. Et voila. Yes, we want to merge this. Boom. Goodbye. And now we have this here. Boom. 4,525. That's a pretty massive jump considering it only cost me like 60k shillings. We're just gonna do this for the other pieces as well. Same thing here. Boom. Yes, we want that. Spending a few shillings. Not like we need those. And this is pretty much everything I can give you guys on the way. We did everything, including getting our hands on the first tier 1 equipments, going all the way through the sub tiers in tier 1, all the way up to the final step, which basically means transitioning from one tier to another tier, which is exactly what you're currently seeing on my screen. And there we have it. We are 810 now. So my item level will be 810 now. It also unlocked the next chest. From here on out, the steps are exactly as they were in the prior videos in tier 1 equipment. So what we're left to do now is push this equipment until we can get our hands on the purple ones from Chaos Dungeons. At some point we're going to transition to the legendary ones, and then at some point we're going to be transitioning to the artifact ones. I'm just going to show you what I mean. I can give you that one last bit of information here as to how this works. So we're just going to check the Chaos Dungeons really quickly, and you'll understand what I mean. So this is the equipment that we're currently wearing, right? So this is something we're going to push all the way up until plus 15. At some point in time, we're going to be able to, where is it? This one. We're going to be transitioning to those. You don't actually have to transition to the purple ones if you don't want to, but they do boast better stats. So if it's a main character, and no catch-up mechanics, you probably want to switch to purple. You don't have to do it. The next one that you will have to do, though, is go to this one here. And there we have it. It's basically this exact same thing as we had it with Tier 1. Tier 1 was from 302, the equivalent in Tier 2 is 802. In Tier 1 we have 340, the equivalent is 840 here. And the last one in Tier 1 was 385, and the last one here is 885. So the steps are exactly the same. The other differences are it's going to be using large crystals instead of small ones. It's going to be using sapphires of Syrians and not the Javanna ones. You're also going to be using sapphire shards as opposed to emerald shards. The rest of the mechanics are the same. So this is all you need to know. Thanks everybody for joining me in this series. As usual, if I confused you, if I lost you somewhere, anything that I made unclear or could have done better, let me know in the comment section below. This concludes my what to do or how to start in this game and what to do after level 50 guide series. Thanks everybody for joining me for all these videos so far. Last but not least, if you want to see me live on Twitch, I stream on Mondays 1700 CEST and other days, usually around Thursdays around the same time, so feel free to check out my channel in the description below if you want to see me live as well. I also play different games, so it's not only going to be Lost Ark. Last but not least, I do hope this was helpful. I hope you guys stay safe out there, stay healthy, and I will see you guys next time.